Welcome to the MMHP in the 989. Channeling all styles and eras of Michigan music history from the city by the bay. And now, here's your host, Scott Baker.
And we're back here in the MMHP in the 989 with Susie Woodman, part 2. We've been so blessed this season to bring in so many wonderful guests, and part 2 with Susie is going to be the ultimate wrap-up to bring us to the final episode of the year coming in 2 weeks. We want to thank Susie and everybody that's provided so much valuable background and history to our state, musically, far and wide, touring, not touring, still playing, not playing. Even, you know, there's just endless amounts of talent, and we were hoping to capture all of it as much as we can here at the MMHP in the 989. So without further ado, this is amazing. Dig into part 2 here with Susie Woodman, and we got 2 more left before season 4. Thank you all.
Thinking back, Susie, I know you played at a lot of different clubs in the Detroit area. Are there some bands that you opened for that you were really impressed with, or you maybe got to know a little bit, because they had usually, some national acts.
Yeah, we didn't do a lot of opening bills for people in the Detroit area, but certainly when we moved down there, there was just some amazing acts. There was a group called Boone's Farm, which could play anything by any group, yes, to Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and then they'd go back to some heavier rock stuff. There was Bobby Lewis and the Crackerjack Band we'd go and see over at a club called Your Mustache on the other side of town. The list is endless. There was just some amazing, amazing bands back then. And as the music scene changed, the bands ebbed and flowed. So.
Yeah, and those were the days where you could actually make a living, playing music.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little different scene right now.
So your daughter's a singer as well.
Sarah is actually right now in Belgium, in Brussels, Belgium, teaching yoga. So she'll be back here in August. We have a gig coming up in
Freeland,
yes, at the park. So she's supposedly going to come up and sing for that gig with us. All so right. We'll see.
Now, is Pete going to play at that too?
Yeah.
Is this the band that that was at Scotty's, but just without you?
I hope it's the band that was at Scotty's. I hope they will come up and do the gig. I'm not sure what the instrumentation will be because the Hips isn't really a band anymore. So
okay,
Pete gets these odd gigs here and there, and then scrambles to pull people together. So
He's been looking for a bass player.
Yeah.
He posted his phone number on Facebook, said, if you play bass, give me a call.
Did he really? Okay. Yeah.
I think for the
Scotty Sandbar gig,
Yeah, they found a good bass player from Detroit, who came up and did the gig.
Oh, okay. Because I told a couple of my bass playing friends.
Yeah.
I didn't know if they called him or not, but
I got video of them performing there, of course.
Cool. Did you you were in Detroit? Were you in Detroit? I should ask during the Meatloaf and Stoney record then.
We were. Yes.
Okay, so were you involved with any of that at any time?
No, not at all. Not at all. As I said, he wanted to record one of the songs that we had written.
And you just kind of...
I would not know. I was mad.
You guys were mad.
I was mad.
Not getting along. Okay. Did you ever work with Sean Murphy?
Never had the opportunity to work with Sean, but when she comes to town, if I'm able to go out and hear her, I do go out and hear her.
Yeah. Were you guys friendly?
Yes, I've been a fan of hers since we worked, shared the bill with Wilson Moore Pursuit. So
of all your career, I mean, to you, what would you do over again? Maybe all of it, but what was your favorite?
What would I do over again?
Or what would you like to do more of, maybe? What was your favorite period of all the music you played? It could be current, could have been done, all of it, yeah.
And I was thinking on the way up, I wasn't sure what we were going to discuss, so I was thinking that we really need to define the term success to be something other than international recognition and, extreme wealth. That doesn't mean that those are bad things. It just, for me, it means that success is defined differently. It's defined by me because I've been able to do something that I always wanted to do as a child. I had the opportunity to do and pursued it, and I'm still able to do it at this late stage of the game.
Yeah.
To me, that is success. Am I making my living as a musician anymore? No.
Right.
But I'm able to not only play music, but lately the creative end of it, the writing music, lyrics, melody, chord changes, has been, for me, what's been the most gratifying. So if I could do that right from the get-go and develop my writing style.
Okay. I think, it's not like we're always talking successful. It's the importance of Michigan music. That's why we're here. And you are a linchpin all along the eras and different genres and in different ways. So my question, I guess, would have been more of not necessarily successful favorite part, but just like you were so immersed in the music.
Yeah.
What was it, like 77? I would do that again, or something
I would
that,
certainly.
You know what I mean? But,
I do, and I would certainly do the recording with Johnny Round again. That's
the album that didn't come out.
That's the album that was not released, and it was my first time recording an entire album in a studio with a group of people who were extremely supportive, and I was the low man on the totem pole in terms of years in the business and ability, but they were amazingly supportive and encouraging and offered me something that nobody up to that point had.
What studio were you working in, Susie?
Eastern Sound in Toronto.
Okay.
Was Pete in that band? Was Pete in that band too?
No, there was a drummer named Danny Ballas.
Okay.
Who for years worked with Ron Coden, who is a local Detroit folk legend comedian. But
do you have any copies of that record on your own personal cassette or anything? Maybe the roughs.
The unreleased?
Yeah. You do. Well, at least you have some. That's beautiful.
I do have it.
Because if it's not getting heard and it's on a shelf somewhere and the companies all own it, and I wonder how we could go about getting Third Man Records or somebody involved in tracking that down.
And I know Don was. And the last time I saw Don, it was all I could do not to pull him aside and say, "Listen, Don, will you please help us do this?"
Yeah, he runs Blue Note now too, and
which would not be a label.
No, but he would know how to do it.
He would know what to do. Yeah. So
he tours now with Bob Weir a lot from the Grateful Dead, and then he's still producing the Stones records too. So
I used to see him. The first session I ever did in Detroit was at his studio on Wayne State University campus. With Ted Lucas, Johnny Round, and it was just like a demo session. And so then I found out he was also a player. Mm-hmm. He was working with a really fine jazz piano player out at a place called Bob and Rob's, and we would go out and hear him play. He was playing upright bass at the time. Just phenomenal player.
And he puts on is it called Concert of Colors every year in Detroit?
He's
And do you go to those?
He puts on a
something
program,
like that program, yeah.
Part of it.
Yeah. Do you ever go to those or talk to them there?
Yeah, I have been to a couple of them.
Yeah. Play them?
No, I haven't played one yet, but I babysat my girlfriend's little boy when she was performing there, so I got to hang out with the kid in the stroller one day.
Cool stories. You knew everybody in the era, and you got to do your own thing too. That's an amazing body of work in my book. That's what this podcast is based around, is digging up these stories and the lineage. So
a lot of years.
Yeah. Is there anything that you're doing now that you're looking forward to in the future outside of this Freeland show for yourself?
The singer that I have been working with, that we recorded with, and I tell people this is girl music, okay? So when you listen to it,
What's the name of it?
understand it. It's called Simple Love Songs. Her name is Chrissy Morgan.
Okay.
We met when she was the backup singer and I was a keyboard player for a 14-year-old girl at the time who was doing her album release party at the Royal Oak Music Theater. You can imagine looking across the stage saying, okay, that one's old enough to be my grandchild. Okay, so
Yeah.
maybe it's time to hang up these shoes. Anyhow, we met and I had pretty much, other than my church gig, stopped playing. And Chrissy said to me, if I get a gig, will you come and work with me? I think our styles would blend. And the next thing I know, I got a call and we had a 5-hour New Year's Eve gig, 2 months later or something.
That's a long show.
And we ended up working together. She's an amazing singer. She's a fine songwriter. And what's interesting about working with her is that she hears things unlike a lot of singers do not hear. She writes very interesting melody lines with some really interesting rhythmic changes occasionally. And the melody lines are interesting enough that I can build chord changes underneath them. So it's not just
It's very compatible.
1-4-5 progression.
It's unique and compatible.
Yeah, and then she takes the tunes that I write because I stopped singing 10 years ago. Never stop singing in your later years because you don't get that voice back. But I stopped singing, but I still have a lot of material that I'm writing, and she's able to take the material that I write and sing it as if I was singing how I'd like to sing it. So.
Wow. So
That's got to be very rewarding.
Yeah.
It is. So I'm hoping that once they get their house built in Kentucky, that she will find some venues down there that we can work. And I'll be making some road trips.
Right on. So you got that in your future? You're looking at that as a project?
Yeah,
coming
and
up?
I'm working with another singer in the city named Maggie McCabe,
Yeah.
who's a really fine singer, more bluesy in her approach. Chrissy's background is musical theater, and you'll hear that when you hear the CD.
Oh wow.
And and then I'm doing I've got a couple of other projects I'm working on. So
Do you have your own studio right now? Are you a home studio like a lot of people do? Pro Tools or
I
something?
just put ideas down on my phone.
Yeah, it's what we do. That's how it starts. The germ is now on the phone or in the computer. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where did you record that particular record?
This one.
Yeah.
This was recorded in a couple of different places. It was recorded, the last couple of songs were recorded at Temper Mill, plus a lot of overdubs in Detroit. And then there was a studio that's privately owned by a man who doesn't like to promote it, so I can't give you his name. But he had a beautiful studio in his basement, and he offered it to us gratis.
Oh.
So we were fortunate that this beautiful Schaefer baby grand piano and kept it tuned.
Now, I got to ask you, and we've had a few artists come through here that have a little bit of depth in their history and probably a lot of catalog that hasn't been heard. Do you have a lot of your old demos, or how far back do they go? And would you ever be interested in getting that stuff put to, digital so everybody can hear it, or we can hear the germ of some sort of start,
Yeah, most definitely would be interested in getting some of it out there in whatever way, shape, or form.
How far back's your...
Well, we have some of the early Meatloaf stuff.
Oh my gosh, that's what I wondered.
Yeah. Pete has that.
Oh my Lord.
I'm not sure what he's going to do. We've had discussions about that. The sad thing about what we recorded that was released as a 45 is that we had it pressed in, I want to say, Owasso.
Yeah.
And
that was the Art Shield
burned to the ground.
thing?
Yeah, that's AR, American Record Pressing.
Burned to the ground with the masters.
Oh.
So whatever we have is whatever we have. There were some other things that we recorded at a couple of other studios. I'm not even sure what they are. I'll have to have Pete play them for me, and so I can see. So yeah, we have some of that. Then he might have some of the Toads, the Horny Toads with Ted Lucas.
Wow, that'd be cool.
Then we do have a copy of the Jonathan Round album. That's not. Then I have then he's on the Dinner Theater album that you have, I believe, the Jacques Brel album. And then this is the country band. And
What was the name of that band?
Freeland Star,
Freeland Star.
which was Pete's dad's newspaper that he ran during World War II.
Wow.
No,
You didn't know that?
well, let me tell you, I have, I go to estate sales and yard sales all the time. And for some reason, I picked up this 1941 Freeland Star newspaper. And now I look at it years later after I moved and I thought, what the hell am I doing with this? Why did I buy this? So Pete's father started that?
Well, now you
He
know.
can
It was divine intervention, Fred.
Yeah, I've stopped questioning things like that happening in life a long time ago.
Incredible. So your back catalog that you are in your history, your demos and all that, they're there. There's some stuff that we can tap into. There you go, archive guy. That's what we've been looking for right there.
Oh, boy.
Might have to get you guys up here to put that stuff to digital, even for just a copy for yourselves, just whatever. I'd love to get you and Pete in the same room just to discuss that. And
now you'll find that I'll fight with him to get a chance to talk because he just likes to chatter.
I my drummer still can't get over when we opened for Dick for the show because Pete was on the bill too for something, and he was taking my drummer through he had a cymbal. He got a deal, and he's like, "You got to go buy these cymbals. Look at the deal I got. They got me on their label now, or not the label, but he had what do you call them when you could play that? They send you stuff to play, I can't think of the name of it.
Yeah, I get my mind went blank.
Yeah, he quit talk, and then he still. I remember that night.
He's got a sponsorship.
Sponsorship. That's the word. Yeah. But yeah, I would love to get that stuff put to digital, boy.
It would be nice to do that because we're eventually something.
Yeah.
If only for the kids.
Yeah.
Only to leave it for the grandkids.
Yeah. Even if it's just a YouTube thing for the demos, like a lot of people do nowadays, just so everybody can have a chance to hear it. Because there's so many early history things that people
like
miss.
Ted Lucas will be more famous dead than
yeah.
alive.
Yeah. There you
His
go.
name comes up a lot lately.
Lately. Yeah.
I'm telling you, he was the most unbelievable human being on the planet. He traveled for a very, very long time on the East Coast following Ravi Shankar, studying sitar with him.
Oh, my Lord.
I mean, he was just... And I say this, I've stopped questioning things in life, but I remember the first time I ever saw him was in 1965. Pete and I were at the Chessmate in Detroit. And this group of people came in. I think we were there to see the Blues Magoos or somebody. And this group of people came in. And the guy leading the pack, I just looked at that guy and I thought, who is that? He just had this particular attraction or aura about him. And, all of those years later, come to find out, it was Ted Lucas.
Wow. Yeah, he's popped up more this year than I've ever heard that name. And when I saw that record posted too, the Detroit.
Kudos to his kids.
Yeah.
His kids have worked very hard at making sure that the catalog that he left behind is going to be of value.
Oh, good.
Was he in a group called the Spike Drivers?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Same guy. And then they had the Misty Wizards. He and I can't think of it. Dick Keenan. Anyhow, one of the guys from the Spike Drivers. They put together a duo for years.
The Misty Wizards.
Misty Wizards, yeah, not the Whiskey Mizzards. Although that's kind of cool.
It is cool.
Yeah.
So you got to give us one story that you haven't passed along or told in a long time that you're considering not saying or maybe telling us about.
Geez, now you really put me on the spot. The good thing you can edit this out because I got to think for a second.
Yeah. But there might be some other little thing that blows our mind here, even if.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to be driving home in my car.
And it'll come to you. Yeah. I get relentless amounts of feedback from our former people on here. They're like, we got to do another show. We forgot this, and this. It happens. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this has nothing to do really with me as much as it does with my dad. Okay. So see if you can use this one. I was playing piano at what was then the Kingsley Inn in Detroit. Now, this was a really upscale Bloomfield Hills restaurant / hotel. John DeLorean was coming in there. I saw the original Chic, and it was the wrestler. It was this old 1950s style bar, long and dark, lots of wood. I got 2 stories from there. And I'm sitting there one night, and I'm playing piano for the 4 to 8 gig, and from 8 to 12 is Bobby Elliott from Saginaw, his 2 sons. One was Bob and one was Don, but this is the dad, right? Yeah. Bobby Elliott's following me. And I'm playing away, and I got about an hour to go, and there's a guy sitting at the piano bar, and he's talking away, and we're playing and laughing. I go to do this song, and I said, okay, so this is a song my dad taught me. And go to play something like, 5'2", Eyes of Blue, who knows what it was. And he goes, oh, who's your dad? And I'm saying, well, you wouldn't know him. He was a guitar player, though, good player. Blah, blah. Who's your dad? He's not from around here. I mean, he lived here for a while, but he's from Saginaw. Who's your dad? His name was Arnie Kane, and he looked at me, he goes, my name is Kent Wilson. I was your dad's best friend.
Oh, wow.
And of course, then I start to cry. Yeah. Because my dad had been gone by that time. Story number 2, another Kingsley story.
Excellent.
I'm sitting at the piano bar one night, and in walks George Goulson. George was Punch Andrews' partner for the hideout clubs and all the other things. George comes in and sits at the bar. I get done with my set. I go over to introduce myself, right? And I said, you had the opportunity to book me in many gigs. I just wanted to thank you, blah, blah, blah. Hey, George, why do you have that briefcase chained to your wrist? 2 minutes later, George says, I have to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. I never saw George again.
Whoa.
I still wonder, what was in the briefcase, George?
Wow. Wow.
Okay.
Well, we were going to say something, too. I think we started a pre-show, MC5 story you were going to share.
Oh, MC5 stories. Oh, or Ted Nugent stories.
Or any Seeger. You just mentioned Punch. Any Seeger stories?
No, not really any Seeger stories, because we only just did gigs with them. They never came to the house. But both the 5 and Nugent were known to come to our house after the gigs. Because
in Freeland?
Freeland, 7.5 acres in the middle of the woods. So we could play at 2 o'clock in the morning.
So the 5 was in Freeland and Nugent. Amboy Dukes.
Yeah, it was pretty nuts. But the connection there was because Pete and John Sinclair used to go up to the music box in Houghton Lake when they were in high school. And they met up there, from the old days. But, so that, the 5, they were pretty crazy. There were some pretty wild times there. But my favorite story was really the Nugent story. So Nugent came and the band played and we had a great night and he was on his motorcycle. So he left that night. Everybody left. We went to sleep, got up the next morning. I go downstairs and Pete's mom is in the kitchen. She goes, who's that very nice young man on the motorcycle? I said, what? She goes, he left his sunglasses here and he came back to get them. He was a very nice man. I said, Ted? Ted Nugent.
Yeah, he's
a very nice man.
That's a great story. Too cool.
My in-laws were saints. They put up with a lot of stuff.
Wow. Anybody else come through there?
Were they living at the house when all this was going on?
Oh, yeah.
And they just didn't have any problem with loud music late at night?
No.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, the kids would tell stories, their family would tell stories about jam sessions, around the grand piano in the living room until 3 or 4 in the morning from the local clubs in the area. They made friends with musicians all over the place. So,
did you guys have anybody like Canadian stop through on their tours, or there's a bunch of different bands that came, or the Byrds came through that one time, but they probably ran their tour bus and went back to.
Yeah, they were actually on their way to Chicago.
Anything? You got a story on that too?
Yeah. Michael Clark wanted to take me with them to Chicago.
Were you 14 at that point?
I was 17.
Oh, 17, that's it.
But Pete showed up at the band canyon and said, she's only 17.
Life could have been a different story at this point.
Remember all those hippie types that the band brought from Los Angeles?
Oh,
At the bird thing?
well, yeah, there was this whole group of people that traveled around with them, and one of them was Carl Franzoni. And I remember this because Carl was good friends with a guy out in LA named Vito the Sculptor. Okay, so Carl, they would get out. I thought he was old. He was probably 33, 34 at the time, but So Carl would get out and dance in the audience. Remember that, Fred, when they would dance around in the audience, get people up and participating? And Carl was a great guy, and I always remembered his name. So when Pete and I moved out to L.A., we'd been in town a couple of months, and we're walking down the street going towards the Whiskey A Go-Go. And up ahead, I see this guy dressed like a court jester with the hat on and the shoes with the bells and all. And I'm thinking, this is strange. You live in 7.5 acres in the middle of the woods for a while. So we're walking, and all of a sudden I look, and as he gets closer, I realize it's Carl Franzoni, the same guy that I had seen a year, 3 years earlier with the Birds.
Oh, wow.
And I said, hope he doesn't recognize me. I hope he doesn't recognize me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Were you in Detroit when Joni Mitchell was living there? And that whole thing?
No, but Chuck Mitchell's parents actually lived about 3 blocks from where I live right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
But I saw Joni play a lot, but we weren't.
That story always filters in and out of this podcast, and I wondered if you had any connection, being that you guys were in Detroit briefly.
I went to see her play many times back in the early 60s at the Chessmate.
Oh, wow.
And the two of them together were amazing.
Wow. Well, thank you, Susie, for coming to our show. I'm sure we can have another one, and we're going to have to take notes afterwards. Something else that, what you remember on the way home. But this has been incredible. We're probably going to get a nice 2-part series out of this one. And all your stories are gold, and you still have more to tell and more to do. So we are so grateful for having you on the show.
Yeah,
thank you for coming.
so much. You're great.
I am honored.
That was cool.
More than you will know. I'm kind of always behind the scenes, so thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you, Susie. All right.
The MMHP is hosted on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and our own Libsyn podcast site. You can also search MMHP 989 on Facebook for up-to-the-minute information, as well as both Dr. J and Sir Fred's album picks of the week, posted every weekend. You can connect with Scott on the web at scottbakermusic.com, Dr. J at michiganrockandrolllegends.com, Sir Fred at fredrife.com, brought to you by Michigan Rock and Roll Legends, located both inside the Bay County Historical Museum on Washington Avenue, as well as Scotty's Sandbar on Evergreen Drive at the Bay City Middle Grounds.
On behalf of the hosts, Gary, Dr. J. Johnson, Sir Fred Rife, archivist and videographer Mike Beatty, and myself, this podcast wouldn't be here without Studio 163's Alan Garcia, the voice of MMHP, Mr. Eddie Switek, all of our guests, and you, the listeners.
You've been listening to the MMHP and the 989. From all of us at the podcast, we want to thank you for tuning in.
Susie, it's been an honor.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure.
Thank you for making the trek for this. Have you ever done a podcast before?
No.
Well,
No, I take that back. I did one, but I did it with Pete. I didn't talk much.
Now you had your chance today, and we'll get you another one too.
Do you still have any relatives here, or are you staying here?
No, actually, my dad's family was from the UP. My mother's family was from New Zealand.
Oh, your mother was from New Zealand.
Yeah, so I have family in New Zealand I'm still in contact with. My dad's family...
You weren't born there, were you?
No, but I did live there from 2.5 to 5.
Okay.
But my dad's family is kind of, they're rather dispersed now. He was one of 10 kids, and I'm only kind of in touch with one of them, one of the cousins. Yeah. And my brother lives down near me, so. Pete's family's up here. Pete still has a brother in Midland.
Jeez. I joined Ancestry.com a couple months ago for just a month where
Yeah?
it's free just to look up some other people I'm trying to look up. And I completely forgot. I should have looked up your father.
Oh, yeah.
Damn it.
So your father from the UP,
Yeah. his
and you
family.
guys moved to New Zealand where his wife is from, your mother,
Yeah.
and he became a big musician out there. He's in the interesting. A UP musician is known in New Zealand as a jazz guy, like
Yeah.
a
Jazz.
yeah.
Did he meet your mom when he was in the service? Or
Yeah,
something?
yeah. During
Okay.
on R&R, they actually only knew each other for 2.5 weeks.
So love at first sight.
Oh yeah, right. You know, if anybody wants to do that in your family, have them call me. But yeah, and you know, he was from a family where the Finnish Lutheran Church at that time would not allow any instruments in the church.
Wow.
So the fact that he wanted to play guitar. He knew from the time he was a kid he wanted to play guitar. And one of his older brothers finally bought him a Sears acoustic guitar. And you know, the family was up in arms
Wow.
that he had. So he was pretty much self-taught.
Where in the UP was he born or from?
Dollar Bay. Up
Dollar
there,
Bay?
Up in the Keweenaw.
You know. Okay.
Near Houghton Hancock. Just-
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible. Wow. How Michigan music around the world.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Well, her father was quite popular here when
That's-
he was.
That's so cool to hear. It's something that I was not aware of. You know. Yeah. He's gonna be on the cover of your next coming book
Yeah,
too.
they had an amazing trio. Those guys were. And you know, and I never actually, other than they're playing in the basement, I never got to go to the clubs to hear them
Okay,
play.
remember I was telling you, I think I was telling you, I got all these cassettes that Frank Walsh and Billy Waters' husband, they're both passed now, but their kids gave me all these cassettes, and most of them are tape jazz, you know, from recordings, but a number of them are Kent Wilson at O'Hare's here in Bay City,
So I wonder if my dad.
1990. And then I ran into
My dad.
somebody yesterday and said, yeah, well, Al Singer put on, it was like a Al Singer Presents.
Wow.
And because you said your dad might be playing on
No,
it. But,
my dad's been gone since '75.
oh, okay, then no.
Yeah.
This is 1990.
Yeah, that's amazing that he was still gigging.
Do you remember that? At O'Hare's, 1990?
No.
Jazz?
And you showed me that tape
No.
when I was at your
Yeah.
house. I was like,
Well, I
I
got
don't
a few of
recall him at all.
And some of them are pretty good. You know, it might be able to preserve some of.
Oh, that would be amazing.
But,
I'm sure his
you know,
daughter
it's
would
like
love to have.
a cassette player on the table. And,
Are you friends with his daughter? With Kent's
Who?
daughter?
oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
I know. I promised her I was going to make a copy,
I
but
know.
I don't have,
I
you know, any way to do it.
What
At
are
the
you,
moment.
are you trying to convert it to CD?
Cassette to CD.
Okay.
I used to when I was in Ann Arbor. I had my computer and all that set up for it, but since I moved,
Scott, you can do
So
that.
is Jack Brusky's gone, I'm sure. And Bob McCullough, I'm sure.
I can do it.
Well, there's
I
a
did
piano
years,
player
but I
on
had
it
all that.
that I don't know. It could be Vanston.
Oh, Paul Vanston.
Paul Vanston.
Wow, I forgot
Maybe.
about him. Wow.
But some spots of it, some songs are coming over pretty clear.
Yeah.
Did you get to play that whole tape? I remember I left and you were just getting your tape
Well,
player hooked up when I left your house.
No, not all of it, because it's on both sides. And,
Yeah. But it was good.
you
The
know,
dude was
whoever-
jamming at O'Hare's.
Whoever,
Yeah.
they just left it on, so there's a lot of
Yeah.
in between, nothing going on except the audience talking.
You know, this area is just so amazing, the amount of incredible musicianship that's been here through the years. You know, and it's just like this little
Yep.
unknown gem of players. Every now and again somebody will, you know,
Get cherry
branch
picked.
out.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of genres of music. I mean, we had Kevin Cole. You know him, the piano player?
No.
He's like maybe one of the world's biggest expert on the Gershwins.
Oh my.
Yeah.
And has recorded unreleased Gershwin songs. I mean, he's way up there.
They gave him the music to
And
do.
he's from-
Yeah.
And he's
He's
met
here.
the Gershwin family.
So,
yeah.
It's the family that gave him the song.
But he's from Bay City and lives here now.
He's from
I don't know if you've ever
Warren.
seen him play.
Greg Bissonette. Oh yeah.
Really? Okay.
Greg Bissonette and
BEAT.
Anyway, her birthday.
he's awesome. And his brother on
I
bass, the bass player.
I don't know his brother. I just
Yeah.
found him on YouTube. I'm going, really?
Chad Smith from the Really Hot Chili
Yeah.
Peppers. He's from Royal Oak.
Yep.
The singer from the Chili Peppers from Grand Rapids. I mean, we got Michigan's just
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know, and what most people don't know is that Big Brother in the holding company's guitar player,
James
Gurley.
Gurley, yeah.
was from Detroit.
Yeah.
He was a contemporary of Ted Lucas's.
Was he?
Oh,
I
yeah,
didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, they graduated from Mumford, I think, the same year.
Yeah.
And then
Gurley was all over the map. He was very avant-garde. I loved
and
it.
then, Stanley Mouse, who did all those album covers and painted Lennon's Rolls Royce,
Yep.
the psychedelic Rolls Royce. He was from Detroit.
Lauren.
Dennis Lord.
Dennis Lauren, yeah.
Yeah, he was just on
that-
one of our podcasts.
That's what I was thinking about. It wasn't him. It was Dennis Lauren. Yeah.
Yep.
Dennis did a lot of stuff for Teddy, too, I think.
Yeah, Dennis just got a pretty good book out that has a lot of his poster work over
Yeah.
the years.
Good. It's fun. I last saw
Yeah, he's
him.
really a nice guy.
He is.
Yeah, we've got 17 of his posters up at the.
Well, I'm going
Hall
to
of
come
Fame.
up. I'm going to have to make a trip up. So give me a card for it.
No, I don't
Nah,
have
I
my card.
I'll look it up online. I'll
Terrible.
find you.
You guys see Brett Tuggle died recently too, right? Through Steve Hunter. He played with Mitch Ryder in Detroit with Steve Hunter, and he's Brett Tuggle, huge keyboard player, like a band arranger. He's Fleetwood Mac, on and on. I mean,
Yeah,
he's
Played
huge.
quite a few years with Fleetwood
Yeah,
Mac.
he out of the blue just passed away. No one has any rhyme or reason why. And Steve Hunter just posted about that like 2 weeks ago or a week ago when he passed. And then it was Rolling Stone, everybody's Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks, and everybody's talking about all their work with him. And he was big in Detroit for a long time too, like huge piano arranger guy. So, and Mitch Ryder grabbed him, one of the first major things he had with Hunter.
You know,
Did you
I
get to know
just
Steve
saw
Hunter?
the other day on
I do know Steve. I don't know him well, but when I was dating Charlie Martin, our paths would cross with
Oh
Steve.
wow!
43.
Pete turned to 80
Unbelievable.
this year.
I know it. Well, that's what I was getting at. You know,
Yeah.
all the old rockers, man, where everybody's
Still rocking.
turning 70 in the 80s.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Jerry Lee Lewis, the wild man, is the only one still alive.
Out of that whole
Out
crew,
of,
yeah.
you know.
There's a new documentary coming out on Jerry Lee.
Oh, yeah?
It's all clips. Trying to think the Coen brothers. It's one of the Coen
Oh,
brothers.
nice,
And
nice.
his wife put it together. That yes, there's a great deal of performances over the years. Probably more from when he went into country music than in rock and roll.
We saw
But
him
they're
live
gonna
at the
put-
Riviera Terrace.
I saw him twice.
Oh really? Yeah, I saw him. I saw him in New
Saginaw
York
and Ann Arbor.
at Trax, and he had Ricky Nelson's guitar player.
Burton.
Yeah, James Burton. How can I forget that? Yeah, James Burton was playing guitar. With
For
him.
Jerry Lee.
Yeah, at Trax.
Well, you ever get a chance, look up James Burton discography.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
everything, huh?
Holy cow.
Yeah, he's a terrific player.
He even backed up Lazy Lester at the Ponderosa Stomp twice.
Oh, wow.
I don't know how, both in the band, backing up Lazy Lester, James Burton and Scotty Moore.
Did you post that
That's quite a
photo?
combo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
And I'm going,
Elvis's two big guitar players. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a picture Wagner always had in the studio too of him, Hunter, and Burton jamming in New Orleans, like mid '90s, early '90s. From
well, I guess Elvis saw him on, like we all did, on the
Ricky
Ricky Nelson
Nelson,
show and said,
How's he
I
in
want
Harry?
him.